investigations.
Hey, welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. Sitting here with a real funny guy, a guy I've known for a few years, on and off, and unfortunately gets mistaken for me. And if you look, it's really a shame because he's much younger, much cuter, I would say,
Thank you.
Much less edgy in a good way. Bobby Moynihan from Saturday Night Live. What's up, Bob?
How you doing, man? What's going on?
Good to see you.
Much younger, you think? I'm 36.
Well, I'm 45. I got you by a decade.
Yeah.
But I
don't do math.
I look like your grandfather.
I just got off a plane like an hour ago.
Right.
And as I was leaving the plane, somebody was like, "Artie!"
You're
I get
kidding
it
me.
constantly.
Was that hell for you? It must be.
No, it's wonderful. I've been oh my God, look at that, huh? Same hat and everything.
Yeah, the first time I was doing the Howard Stern show, and someone called up the show and said, I guess your first year.
Yeah.
I said, guys, there's a new guy on SNL, looks exactly like Artie. And they put up a picture like that. I said, wow. And I think you had that hat on, too.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the hat.
That was one of the most terrifying mornings of my life, was the first Monday, like the first Saturday I did the show.
Right.
I was a big Howard fan. I listened to it all the time.
Right, yeah.
And turned on Howard that Monday morning, and like as the show was starting, like the music was still going, and we
Yeah.
were talking, and he's like, "And who's this guy they got now, trying to be Artie?"
You're
And
kidding
I was
me.
like
Trying to be Artie.
mortified. I
Trying
was
to
like,
be
"Oh no!" But then you came to my defense. It was very nice.
No, but you've been there 5 years now.
Yeah, it's my 5th season.
So, I guess it's a good experience for you, right? People say all different things over the years, but it seems to be like lately, it seems to be a real nice atmosphere, right?
Yeah, it's been
been
wonderful. I feel like the cast lately has been so great, so lucky to have.
Yeah, the last 5, 6 years, your years there actually have been really funny, man. And
thanks, man.
All good stuff. And but it's just we had Taron Killam in here last week.
He's the greatest.
And when you get that show, you're an unknown, and you're thrown into this iconic thing. And it's so, because I did Mad TV for 2 years. It was a much different situation.
So did Taron.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was saying that. And, but when you're in the cast, everybody, Lauren gets everybody a limo after the show, right? Is that still that way? Everybody in the cast gets a limousine?
Well, we get rides to the party. It's not always a limo.
But there's always a big party.
Yeah.
A big, major, fun New York party.
Yeah, and there's the after party, and then there's the after.
The after party. And last year, Mick Jagger hosted.
Yeah.
The last show. So you're thrown into this this atmosphere on top of. What was it like for you, on top of the stress of being on a show, thrown into the fact that all these icons are around? Like Steve Martin's there, and you're just trying to start out in TV,
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying. I mean, it was my life's dream to be on that show.
Right, of course.
Since I was a kid, that was all I wanted to do.
Sure,
do
yeah.
Comedy at Upright Citizens Brigade in order to, hopefully, any way get seen by those guys.
Upright Citizens Brigade has become the new sort of Second City and Groundlings.
Yeah, it's the best place. I wouldn't be on the show if it wasn't for that place.
Yeah, and, Amy Poehler was one of the people who started that, and Matt Besser, Matt Walsh.
Ian Roberts,
yeah. And I remember back in the day in New York when they were, it was just the 4 of them.
Yeah.
And they were doing shows around town, and they were always really funny, but they turned that into their own theater, and then, guys like
the TV,
you.
I remember watching the TV show on Comedy Central.
Right.
And then I was in college, and then I came back here. I was doing theater, and then saw the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. Quit the job I was doing, went right there. I've been doing stuff there ever since.
You're from New York.
Yeah, I grew up in Westchester.
And then when did you start with Upright Citizens Brigade?
I think late 2000.
Late 2000.
Yeah.
And then were you there for a few years, and then you got seen?
Yeah, I did the whole thing. I was a bartender there first, and I started taking classes, and then got on one of they have stuff called Harold teams. It's like improv teams. Got on one of the house teams, and then started doing the touring company, and then started teaching there after many years. And
you're one of those guys who could be funny just by a look or something like that. I remember a couple of years ago, I was leafing through a magazine. It was getting close to New Year's Eve, and I guess you did something with Snooki.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
You were just a Snooki, and she's there, and you're dancing with her. And,
yeah.
But it wasn't just the fact you were dressed like a woman. The face you were making was hilarious. And, do you have trouble sometimes with the guest hosts? You don't have to name any names, but people who might take themselves a little too seriously, and it becomes a problem for comedy, you know?
Well, sometimes, I mean, like, everyone always asks, like, what's the best thing for a host to do? And it's like, just let us
do your
our
thing,
job.
right?
Like, just show up and have a good time.
Be funny.
Like, the best hosts are always the ones that show up and they're just like, I can do this, 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 and this, and then we try and write around that. Like,
right.
I remember this year in particular, like Bruno Mars showed up, and we were all just like, well,
I happened to see that episode. He sung all the time because he could sing.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I do
sketches.
these 7 amazing impressions.
Right,
like,
right,
it's
right.
like, oh, of course I don't do that many impressions.
Well, why not? I know exactly. Guys, listen, all I got is 7 amazing impressions.
Yeah.
I remember that. You did something in an office with him where you were all singing.
Yeah, Seth Meyers wrote it. It was, he was like, I can do all these different impressions of people singing. So
Right.
Seth just wrote this sketch about Pandora Radio. And
Right,
the whole thing
right,
was
right.
There was a
That's
power outage, and the only thing that power went out was the lyrics to the song. So he had to sing all the songs. I think he died in the end.
Yeah, that's right.
But he was one of those guys that showed up and was just amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, again, but then the first time you had to work with someone like a Steve Martin or you know, Paul McCartney stops by or De Niro, whatever. The first time that had to happen, what was that like? I mean,
It's the most bizarre moment, and it's like you're on live television and
Right.
you're looking at Robert De Niro in the face. Bill does these Vinny Vedecci sketches where he's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
an
yeah.
Italian talk show host, and I play his son in like a little sailor suit, and I'm very Italian.
Right.
And one of the jokes was Robert De Niro is on, and and one of the things I had to do was come on and say, "I kill you, Robert De Niro," and like I'm sitting there pretending to smack Robert De Niro, and he's staring me in the face, and you're looking at him going like, "This is happening right now."
Yeah, exactly.
This is actually happening.
The guy from
right now.
Raging Bull.
Yeah, or you'll be walking around the studio and like on a particular show day, and Mick Jagger walks by and he's like, "Hello, Bobby," and you're like, "Oh yeah, that's normal."
Well, that's funny. Lorraine Newman, in an interview,
wonderful.
Yeah, in an interview, said once they asked, "How did you know? When was the first time it hit you that the show was a big hit?" And she said she was walking down West 72nd Street in 1976, whatever, a year after the show had premiered, and she heard an English accent say, "Lorraine, how are you?" She looked up and it was John Lennon. You know.
Oh boy.
Do you ever think sometimes? Because again, I was in your dressing room for a whole night. Again, I apologize.
Yeah, no, not at all. I have something to tell you. Norm left his baseball hat
in your dressing room.
Yeah, it's still hanging on my. It's still hanging on my television.
I'll come grab it from you.
Yeah.
But I went to go visit Norm because he was doing one of the Jeopardy sketches.
Yeah.
And it was this season finale, and he was in your dressing room.
That was my first year on the show.
And you were so nice. You were like, I mean, you're doing a show. It's nerve-wracking, and me and Norm just have our feet up, and you were like apologizing. I was like, Bob, everything? You go, yeah, you do whatever you want. Is everything okay?
Anything you want in the fridge?
You're like, can I get you a coffee? You were such a nice guy, and you had a show to do, but you know.
Well, that was crazy for me because the first show that I did was Michael Phelps. It was the first time Tina did Sarah Palin.
Right.
And then I went home it was my first Saturday Night Live. Like it was the greatest day of my life. I went home and the first. I did the awful thing of looking on the internet immediately.
Oh, no, God, man.
And the first thing I saw was I didn't know Horatio Sands and Artie Lange had a baby. And that was the very first thing that I saw. Horatio's a close friend of mine. I wouldn't be on the show.
Horatio's
if it wasn't
another
for him.
UCB guy, right?
Yeah. I mean, he essentially.
Right.
I started doing stuff with him, and that's how they saw me on the
And
show.
I've known Horatio for a while. He's a real nice guy.
Yeah, super nice dude. So funny.
Are you able to stay away from the internet stuff? Because you
now,
almost have to.
Now you can't. I no joke. I'm awful at Twitter, but I just looked at it right now because I got a thing that you tweeted that I was going to be on the show.
Right, sure.
Within 30 seconds, the first comment was Bobby is Artie's son. And it's on there right now.
Well, it's funny.
But it was so crazy. That first year was, I get it constantly.
Yeah.
One of the first after parties, a girl came over to me and was like, "Can I buy you a drink?" And I was like, I'm on TV. I can't believe that this is happening. She talked to me for about an hour, and then an hour into it was like, "I'm sorry, I just gotta ask you, what is Howard like?" And I couldn't believe it.
Of all the celebrities, this poor guy to be mistaken for.
Oh man, I've been a fan. It's
No,
great.
I know. Listen, I appreciate it.
But then to end my first, like that first night of the show was that I seeing that was the first thing I saw on the internet, and then the very last thing I did on the show was walk off stage with you while somebody screamed Artie, and I was just like, you can see it if you go back and watch it. You can see the look on my face. I'm like, I cannot believe this year just happened. I'm probably going to be fired, and that's the last moment of it.
It was the season finale. Those were crazy Howard fans. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm walking off stage with Norm, you were there, Tom Hanks, Anne Hathaway.
Green Day.
Yeah,
like,
Green Day.
Will
And the
Ferrell.
one name they allowed is Artie. And everybody said, are you excited about that? I said, yeah, I guess, but it just proves that it's almost like everyone there probably wanted to strangle me.
No, it's the best because it's like it's this weird sketch and a weird procession.
It was
outfits.
weird.
Like we don't really do stuff like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
so
yeah.
like we loved it. And then just in silence, Artie! And as you're walking off, just one fist pump in the air.
Well, you know what, dude? Again, as a kid, I wanted to be on it. I got a taste of sketch comedy with Mad TV, but of course, that was my moment. And I said, that was my moment.
It was amazing.
I got to do this.
Yeah.